evening, everybody. Welcome along to the Rangers Rabble Phone In on a Monday evening. My name is Brian, and I'm joined tonight by Wolf and Mark. Guys, how are we?
Very good, mate. How was yourself? Been a while.
Fine, Brian.
Yeah, it's been a while, yeah. Haven't seen you for ages. Wolf, how are you?
Yeah, fine, Brian. Thanks. Yeah, not bad.
You surviving without the football?
Nope. It's been a couple of long ass weekends thinking what did we do? I mean, it's not even the fact you can't go to games. There's not even football on the telly to watch. You know what I mean?
No.
That I want to watch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Soccer had helped me a little bit last weekend. At least that was a game to watch, I suppose. But just roll on next week when I get back to a game of football.
And which game is that?
The Lee Rugby Memorial Cup at Bury between the Rangers Legends and the Northwest Legends Select, where Rangers will be wearing this very top that I'm wearing now.
And if you want to hear more about that, Wolf did a chat about it. It's on the Patreon site, so if you want to catch that, please check it out.
Brian, it's free for all. It's also on YouTube as well. Because obviously the whole premise of it was to let people be aware of it and try and get folk to buy tickets for it, even if they're not going to the game. Gary and his good lady Marlene have got a system going on where if you buy a ticket for the game but you can't go, if you email Marlene the ticket, she'll pass it on to a member of the service personnel that that just go a wee treat for them sort of thing. So yeah. And it's all money for the Lee Rugby Foundation. So
there you go. It's free on YouTube, everyone, if you want to go and catch up with it. It's really good. Yeah, Paul, no dummy spat out. It was just, I was wanting the rules followed, and Martin did it eventually after a VAR check, but
I think Lee got done with his autocorrect. His autocorrect done Lee.
No, got to be more careful with the old autocorrect.
Yes, you
anyway,
have.
folks, it's a show for you guys tonight. It's if you want to phone in with a topic, anything to do with Rangers, get your calls in. You can ask Wolf and Mark because they are not shy in telling you what they think. So, Mark, news today or crept out that Rangers had seemingly bidded for a centre half from Leeds, Cresswell. Now, this was I didn't sort of see much of it until this morning, and allegedly we've made a bid, but it's been rejected. I think the Athletic were reporting it. And yeah, do you know much about this guy?
I really don't. The first thing I done was I took a screenshot of the fact that would put in an offer for this boy, and I pinged it to my good friend Wadey, who is a Millwall fan. I think Wolf's met him as well.
Lovely lad, right, lovely guy.
So I pinged it him. I pinged it to him with the comment, "This boy ain't good," and he come back to me saying he's a cracker, scores a lot of goals as a defender. I think he's obviously must be very dominant in the air. I take it. It can't be much more dominant than the other boy Cooper that's next to him. I think he's about 6'8". So, good reports from him. So, as I said, I'll take Wadey's word for it. I trust that he's a mad Millwall fan, doesn't really miss many games, so I'll take his word for it that he's not a badging.
Yeah, well, this guy's meant to be. He played 30 games for Millwall, I believe, last season. 20-year-old England under-21 international. Is this the sort of player and sort of age group that Michael Beale's should be targeting?
Well, he fits the age profile, and the fact that he played in the English Championship, which is where Michael Beale came from, you'll certainly be aware of him from there. I don't know if the paths were crossed in his time at Millwall. I don't know if QPR played Millwall before Michael Beale joined us or not. I don't know whether they would have, you would have seen him play that up close and personal, so to speak. But he certainly fits the age profile, and if it's somebody that he's after, then I think we'll probably. I mean, we may eventually get him. I mean, they're saying the first bid's been rejected. That's fine. That's what happens. I mean, you don't go in with your top bid straight away. You know what I mean? We probably expect the first bid to. I mean, if you're buying a car off somebody or a house off somebody, you expect your first bid to get knocked back. You know what I mean? So, same with football players. You go in, we'll probably expect it to get knocked back, and then if we're serious, we'll go in with a higher bid, and then our first bid will be lower than we expect to pay, and their asking price will be higher than they expect to get. And we'll meet somewhere in the middle and probably get them for a realistic price. You know, I mean, listening to your chat with Mark Miller on the Daily Rabble, he doesn't seem to be on a hell of a lot of cash either. You know what I mean? So, so really, they can't hold out for too much, because if they hold out for silly money, for he can come out to them and say, "Well, hold on a minute, you're valuing me at £8 million, but you're paying me the wages of a guy that's worth £2 million. So you either let me go for what you value me at or pay me more money." Is the way that's going to work, isn't it? You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think if that's the age profile, I don't know the first thing about the guy, but I mean, if Wadey's a good, having spent a game at Ibrox with Wadey, I'll take his word for it.
Yeah, definitely. Steph, how much was the bid reported? Not sure, actually. There's not really a sort of amount that's been reported. It's just a bid's been turned down. Most websites are reporting these valued around between 4 and 5 million. So, and his wages were roughly around the 5,000 mark. So, yeah, I mean, it's the wages wouldn't be an issue. It's just a matter of what Leeds are looking for, and if they're wanting to get rid of him. So, yeah. And then, Mark, the other news obviously broke yesterday that the Scott Wright deal at Preston is off, and Rangers have allegedly said that the money that's been offered by Preston wasn't enough, or the valuation wasn't met. Now, I think I said today with Martin in the Daily Rabble that, you know, I think that's a good thing that Rangers have actually said no because they haven't offered enough. Do you agree with that?
For me, I don't. I mean, I don't think we did. I think we got him in a free. I'm not 100% sure. I might be making that up, but
it's part of the McCrory deal, isn't it?
Aye, the boys not going to get game time, especially with the kind of calibre of player that we're bringing in. He was hardly getting game time as it was with this side, and we were struggling for strikers and creative options. So I think if you can get £1 million for him, I mean, as far as I was concerned, I thought the deal would have been done, because this kind of came out about a month and a half ago, probably. And as I said, I thought the deal was done. I thought it was just formalities, and it just went really, really quiet. And to be fair, I actually forgot all about the fact that it was going there, or it was reportedly going there. So I feel a wee bit strange that all of a sudden the deal's off and they're looking elsewhere. Are they holding out for maybe too much? I don't know. I mean, I dare say he's probably not in great wages either, so it's not a big deal. But for me, I think that it's something that Wright needs to push through. I think he's a young boy that I think needs for his own career and his own sake. I think he needs to move on. He had chances. He probably had more chances than most at Rangers, but I think it's maybe time to move him on. And I think that if we're squabbling over a couple of 100,000, I would just get shot of him. Simple as that.
But let's be honest, Mark. There's no need to get rid of him at the moment. I mean, if there is, as is reported, other clubs in for him, then we can hold off. You know what I mean? Because like you say, he's not on a lot of money. The season's still 6 weeks away, so still, you know, we can hold off on selling him. And like Brian's kind of insinuating, you know, I'm sick of Rangers just saying take the first offer and letting people go for next to nothing. I mean, Scott Wright's played in a European final, he scored in a cup final. You know what I mean? So that's all bargaining power for us. I mean, I agree with you, get £1 million from him, snap their hand off. But if there is other suitors in there, why snap their hand off now? Just leave it. Wait and see what happens. Give it a couple of weeks. And bear in mind as well, Scott Wright's going to be on his honeymoon because he got married last week. So he's not going to be about. I know it's their agents and all that that do it these days, but he still needs to agree to it. So he can't exactly go and sign a contract, because I'm assuming he'll be somewhere nice and sunny with his new wife. So I don't think there's any rush to put this one through.
No. The phone lines are open, as you can see at the bottom, folks. 0141 628 7237. Get your calls in. Wolf and Mark are here to answer any questions that you have. It could be transfers, it could be boardroom stuff, it could be anything to do with Rangers, and they will do their best to answer. Does this link with Cresswell, Mark, in a sense? Is as somebody said in the comments, does that make the Panzo deal a bit more difficult, or is what do you read into that?
Yeah, as I said, I think that's a wee bit of a strange one, but I'm hoping that maybe this is more of a project player rather than somebody that's going to come into first team. I'm hoping that's the case. Whether it is or not, it's two different things. But yeah, it seems to be all went a bit quiet in the Panzo deal as well. So don't really know. Is this boy the kind of caliber of boy that's going to go straight into our side and playing Champions League qualifiers and going to Champions League? I don't think so. I don't see it, as I said. I probably see it more as a bring him in, let's nurture him and see if we can get the best out of the boy and hopefully he can kick on. So for me, more of a project than actually somebody that's going to come in and get into the first team. So I'm hoping that the Panzo deal's still alive and kicking.
Yeah. Now, Wolf, I'll come to you for this one. The news came obviously today that along the M8 there's a new manager, and Gaz is asked a question. Is there any worries with Brendan Rodgers going back down along the M8? Is that anything for you to be concerned about, Wolf?
Couldn't care less. They could have Mauricio Pochettino in there. If we get our business done right and the way we should be doing it, doesn't matter who their manager is. It's all about us. It's all about Rangers. It's what we do. I mean, yes, Brendan Rodgers is a decent manager. He did great with him the first time around, but I mean, what everybody has to remember is when he was there first time around, he won 7 trophies out of 7. He had that invincible season when they got beat 7-0 to Barcelona in the same season. So how that makes him invincible, I'm still trying to work that one out 3 or 4 years later. But I mean, he was up against the Rangers team with Rob Kiernan in the centre of defence. He's not up against that now. I don't care who their manager is. They could have 4 or 5 of the best managers in the world in there, picking their team. As long as Michael Beale and our board get our business right, bring in the players that we need to bring in to a system that we want to play, no problem at all. Because for me, the biggest problem with that Rodgers is going to have, right? And I don't watch anything of Celtic other than when they play us. That's well documented. But from what I understand about the players that Postecoglou brought in, he brought in players to play his system. He didn't bring in players and build a system around them. It was basically plug in and play. This is how I play. So you fit there, you fit there, you fit there. System's totally different to Rodgers. So he's now got to take those players who are used to playing the way they were brought into play to play a completely different system. It's not going to be the picnic they seem to think it's going to be from what I've seen on social media. But to answer Gaz's question, I couldn't care less who their manager is. If we get it right, we win titles, we win trophies. If we don't get it right, we don't deserve to win titles and trophies.
I think I said as much this morning with Martin. So yeah, it's a case for me. Doesn't matter who their manager is, as you said, Wolf. As long as we get our businesses done and the coaching staff, train us right, I don't see any issues with what's happening. But
you did, Brian, but you weren't as eloquent as I was.
Sorry.
You did, but you weren't as eloquent as I was.
No, I wasn't. Yes, yeah. So, there's also the news up front, Mark. Now, there's been links all over the place. Duvakis was linked with us, or seemingly the Athletic quoted that we were, going to bid for him. I think Heart and Hand quashed that, not long after. We've been linked with striker. Dessers is still, that rumours are still going around. Maja's not moved from Bordeaux. So for me, I still think, Mark, we need to go out and get an out-and-out number 9 that's, going to do the business for us. Do you feel the same?
100%. I did see today as well that Dessers there's a link with Torino as well. I don't know if you've seen it. I don't know if you spoke about it earlier. So that's maybe something I read that said there might be a wee span in the works regarding Dessers because of this. So I think Torino finished mid-table, I think, safely in mid-table. And what I read was there's maybe a wee bit of interest from Torino as well, which might hold up the deal. From what we read, this deal was a fair bit down the road. and I think it was only a matter of time. But now, obviously, this has kind of muddied the waters a wee bit. Does he pick Serie A, playing in a big league, a small club, or does he come and fight for titles and championships and play in Europe? Yeah, that just shows you the desire of the man. So if you look at that and if he's got that kind of choice to make, but I think that we still need two strikers. I think looking at it, Lamals is definitely not going to be. I don't think he's going to be an out-and-out striker. So for me, I think priority is at least one number 9 that's going to score you goals. But preferably, if it was my money, two strikers in, 100% priority.
Absolutely. Before you come in, Wolf, Cameron is waiting. Cameron, evening, how are we?
Aye, gents, I'm no bad, how are we?
Not too bad, thanks. What have you got to ask Wolf and Mark?
Aye, just to follow up on what Wolf was saying about the Brendan Rodgers scenario, I completely agree with him. You know, I couldn't care that he's came back, because at the end of the day, I'm seeing a lot of folk on, you know, different kind of social media and all that saying, oh, we're going to lose the league and all that now that he's back. But as Will said, we have to remember the team that the Rangers team that he was playing against, it was an absolute shambles. You know, we had players like Rob Clearman and who else, and Bruno Alves and all those kind of players. I think we're in a good place, Rangers. I think the signings we've made so far, I think it doesn't matter who they've got in. They could have Zinedine Zidane for all I care. I think next season, I think he's in for a real shock, because the team that we've got now is 100 times better than the team that we had.
And what's the most pressing part of the team that you're wanting to see Beale strengthen? Is it the striking options, or is it the centre half position?
I would like to see a player in each get brought in, because I'm a fan of Goldson. I know he's had these doubters, but I have always stood behind him. I think he's a fantastic defender. I think on his day, he's the best defender in the league, hands down. Obviously, Ben Davies, I'm not too keen on, and obviously because Suter has had his injury problems, so I would like to see a young centre back be brought in. I would prefer Hanzo to Cresswell, because I just think he's suited better to the league. I think he's a tall boy, he's very physical, and I think, as you mentioned about the number 9 role, obviously Colak and Lammers. I don't think Lammers will be number 1 next season. I think I would like to see Cyril Dessers brought in. I think I've seen a bit of him, and I think he's got some real talent. But you know, obviously, it might be tougher to get him in, because they're wanting around £5.5, £6 million for him. But I would like to see a centre back and a number 9 come into the club.
Yeah, I mean, Wolf, this boy Dessers is, there's no smoke without fire. It's not going away, that rumour. I think we've all been guilty of looking at his stats and just saying, no, he's not scoring enough, not good enough for us. But I think we've got, if Michael Beale likes what he sees and, he feels there's something in him, we've just got to trust the manager, haven't we?
Well, the manager's so far he's 2 from 2, because the only 2 signings he's made that we've actually seen play have hit the ground running. They've come in, and obviously Cantwell and Raskin, they've done the business. Now he's brought in 4 players that we haven't seen any of them play for us, because obviously it's a close season and they're not back till another month yet or whatever playing. But if he wants somebody and he goes to get them, that's fine. We'll have to trust the judgment, because at the moment he's the man making all the decisions. There's nobody. Michael Beale's in the situation, he can't blame anybody else. Van Bronckhorst can come out and say, look, the board didn't back me. Well, they're backing Michael Beale, we believe. Director of football didn't back me. We haven't got one of them at the moment. So it's all down to Michael Beale. And he seems to be bringing in players that he knows, players that there's arguments for and against. Obviously, there's arguments for and against every player. I mean, I don't like looking at stats. As I said the other night, I just like using the eye test, see what these guys are really like playing for us. He won't get every signing right because nobody ever does. There will be one, possibly two that don't work out or don't work out initially for whatever reason. I mean, it takes some players longer to settle than others. Some will hit the ground running straight away. But I mean, I agree with Cameron. We need to bring in another centre half. I think Ben Davies will go. I think somebody in the Championship will give us our money back for him, and that would fund the purchase of another centre back. Because obviously, if we sell Ben Davies for $3 million and bring in somebody for $3 million, that's washed its face. It's not cost us anything. We need a goal scoring striker, but let's not forget at the moment we've still got Tony Cholak, who I do expect to go. Because I don't think Michael Beale fancies him, but he's still in the building at the moment, and. If you believe his Instagram, Kamara Roof's fit and firing, and if we can get Kamara Roof fit and keep him fit, best striker in the league by a country mile. The problem is, do we gamble on him staying fit and not bring somebody else in? As Mark said, we need two strikers. Do we bring in one and gamble that Roof stays fit, or do we bring in two and then Roof stays fit and we'll get somebody unhappy because they're not getting games? I mean, that's a difficult one, but as Cameron says, I would certainly bring in at least another centre half and at least another striker, probably two strikers.
Yeah, definitely. Good points, Cameron. Thanks for phoning. Call in again.
Boys, have a good night.
Cheers, thanks.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers, you as well. Yeah, Mark. I mean, it's certainly a hot topic with the fans. The striking options and centre half options. There's folks saying, although nobody's come out of the club saying that Davies is, going to leave, that rumours won't go away. Goldson injury, then Souttar's injuries. There's a bit of concern in that two areas of the pitch, isn't there?
Yeah, but I don't see what the fuss is about Davis. I mean, I went a rant before about Davis and the fact that nobody fancies him and this and that. And he's had one, maybe two shaky games as far as I'm concerned. And then a bipolar Rangers fan kicks in, and all of a sudden he's not good enough. So I mean, we sell him for $3.5 million, or say $3 million. Are we getting better for $3.5 million? It's probably if you're spending $3 million, $3.5 million, you're not going to get a ball playing left-sided centre half that's going to be dominant in the air and dominant in the deck. So you just can't get them for that kind of money. So the problem is you need to kind of decide whether you want one or the other. If Goldson's your ball playing centre half, then you go for a big, strong, dominant in the air, dominant in the deck, big, strong, fast centre half to pair with him. I think that Davies is kind of a similar type player to Goldson. Maybe Goldson's a wee bit more solid, but he's a good footballer. And generally, centre halves in Scotland don't really need to be good footballers. But look, he's our player. He's got a few years left in his contract. I would keep him. I would bring somebody in to push him for the position and try and make him better, rather than think, he's not good enough and punt him. Because for what I've seen him, he's a decent centre half and he's very good with the ball at his feet. So are we going to get better for that $3 million? As I said, you could spend $4 million and bring him in, and all of a sudden we're doing the same as what we done last season by centre halves that we left. Can we bring him back? Can we bring him back? So I don't know. As I said, he's our player. He's a good player. He's a good centre half. Very good at the ball on his feet. All right, he's maybe not a big, ugly, dominant centre half, but do we really need a big, ugly, dominant centre half when we've got 80% of the ball all the time? Or do we need somebody that's good with the ball at his feet? So, don't know. Me personally, I would keep a hold of him, bring somebody in to fight for a position a la Panzo. I think it's a great bit of business. I think that if Davis stays, then there's two left-sided centre halves that are going to compete for that position, that starting slot, is exactly what you're after. So for me, if you sell Davis, you need to I would say bring in two centre halves. So what's the point when we've already got one that's decent, as far as I'm concerned? I mean, Liverpool don't buy crap. It's as simple as that. So striking wise as well, I think we desperately need a striker. We need somebody that's going to score us 20 goals a season. And for me, this is our biggest problem. Rather than talking about centre halves and stuff like that, I think that's should be our main focus. And I think that for me, that's where we should have been bringing somebody in straight off the bat. We should have had that. Should have been the first deal over the line to bring in the striker that's going to be our number 9 moving forward. I know Cholak's there. Same again. Exact same as I feel the same about Cholak as I do about Davis. We've got a guy there that can score goals. Why are we selling him? If he's scoring goals, if he can get his 16, 18 goals a season, then let's get him in there, get another two around about him that are going to fight for places and stuff like that. That for me is only going to make all these guys better as long as if there's somebody breathing over your shoulder and breathing down your neck, then it's going to make you get your finger out. Or it'll prove the fact that they're no good enough, and then come January, that's when you sell them. But I think that as it stands at the minute, we need to spend money in a striking position.
I mean, Wolf, Shona's come in with this question. You know, it was his first season, Ben Davis, and I don't think he played regular football much before that. Is it a case of, get a good pre-season under Michael Beale and hopefully he'll become the player that we all hope he is?
No, look, I wouldn't actively be looking to get rid of Ben Davies or Anthony Cholak, right? I wouldn't be saying, look, these guys are for sale. Glenn Kamara is for sale. There's a for sale sign around his neck, right? He is getting sold, right? I would only sell Davies, and let's throw Cholak into this as well, right? If the right bid comes in. Because we could get my money back on Davies now. I don't think we could this time next year. If we're looking at it from that point of view. Fine.
We'll stop you mid-flight. Connor is waiting. Connor, evening, how are we?
Not too bad, lads, yourselves?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. What's on your mind tonight?
Yeah, the centre-half thing that we're talking about there. Listen, I think we need, I wouldn't necessarily say, we have to get rid of Davies or that, but I do think we need to get a big sort of strong centre-half in, because we don't have it. And how many goals did we concede for set pieces last season? And not just last season, but arguably the season before at the tail end, it was pretty bad. And goals that you concede like that can cost you titles. It can cost you points in games as it has done. And far too often this season, it's been too easy for teams to do it. So you need somebody who can go and command and be that presence. And I don't think we've got that. We've got defenders who are good with the ball at their feet. I think Suter can at times have that, but he's not big enough in terms of his height's not necessarily where you want him to be. So I just think maybe getting somebody else in the door that can do that role. We've seen Eddie Martin, that's about the kind of players we used to have in defence, like Bagheera, Papach, Davy Weir, who could command an area when a ball was coming in and get you started in a counter-attack almost instantly for their clearances. And we've no had that really. Balogun had a bit of that about him, but they lost him. Helander was injured most of last season. He was really the last sort of big one we had. Barisic, he's got the height, but I don't think he's got the quality for it because he just switches off sometimes too much. So I do think a proper strong centre back wouldn't go amiss in that team.
Do you feel it's either Panzo or Cresswell that's the sort of preferred one for you?
Cresswell would probably be the preferred one, but then there's maybe a slight it's the bias of the fact that obviously where he's played and stuff like that. Obviously playing down south, Panzo. I get some Panzos. I wouldn't mind him either to see what he could do. But either one of those would be good, and I don't think you have to come at expense because you need rotation at the back. Last season we lacked that because of injuries. And what we've seen was when we were having to bring in certain replacements, it wasn't working. Leon King, I think, is a fabulous young player, but I don't want to see him having to come in and play in games, big games that he's not ready to be playing in yet because we've not got cover. So you can always bring a Cresswell or a Panzo and still have Davies, Suter, and players like that there. It's all about rotation, especially when you're looking to play in at least 4 competitions next season.
Yeah. I mean, Mark, he makes a good point there. Goldson's the sort of the number one centre-half that we need, and he's the ball-playing centre-half. And, as Connor's saying, we kind of need a big bruiser in there now, effectively to take, put his head where he shouldn't, put his body on the line. That's kind of the sort of style we're needed, isn't it?
Yeah, listen. I 100% agree with that. The point about rotation. I think for me as well, I'm old school. I like a big ugly centre half just to be a big ugly centre half. For me, this whole pretty thing about I like to see a centre half that's going to dominate, not let anybody get a sniff of the ball, win everything in the air, and you can tell as soon as a centre forward gets anywhere near him, you can tell that he's just in fear for his life. So, but I think there's a place for that, and there's a game for that. Exactly what the caller said there for rotation. So for me, I would always have a big ugly centre half in there for games where you're playing against your Kilmarnocks and your Dundees and Dundee Uniteds and a cold winter's night, and you're needing somebody that's just going to go in there and rather than somebody that's going to be silky and is centre half's got his gloves on and all that, he's trying to. So I get that. I 100% agree. As I said, there's a place in every team, as far as I'm concerned, for a big ugly centre half, as well as somebody that's nice, that looks the part not and pings lovely 30-yard balls. As I said, for me, it's always been. If you look at all the great teams over the years, there's always been one of each in each team. As I said, further up the food chain you go, you can get big ugly centre halves that can play the ball, play with the ball at their feet. So as I said, but they're stupid money. They're over 100 million now. These kind of players, but yeah, 100%. I'm all for that, and being able to pick and choose depending on the game you're playing.
100%. Mark spot on. Sorry, Brian. Mark spot on.
On you go.
But that big ugly centre half has to be given a copy of the Davy Weir manual. And if you're in the shite, just get rid of it. None of this trying to play football when you're up against it. You really, just get it out. But I think Shona in the comments in the chat made a comment there. She actually stole my thunder a little bit with regard to the set pieces that we've lost an awful lot of goals from. Most of the players that the manager's bringing in, they're all big lads. They're all 6 foot plus. And obviously, when it comes to defending set plays, you load the box with them. There's not a lot of room for these big guys to get in. So it doesn't mean we don't need height in the defence, because obviously we do. But if there's going to be height all over the team, we should hopefully be much better at defending. These bombs that people throw in, because that's all they do against us in Scotland is try and win free kicks and corners and throw in high balls. So if we've got the personnel to try and defend them, hopefully that's a good jump off point. But we also need, as Connor says, we also need guys that can ping the ball up the park to pick the player out that's standing on the halfway line to run through, whether it's Matondo, Sakala, Scott Wright, and other that we haven't brought in yet, to run at the defences and score the goals.
Yeah, absolutely. Connor, magic phone call. Thanks for phoning.
Cheers, lads. Have a good day.
Thanks, Connor. Cheers, mate.
Okay, have a good one. Yeah, Mark, it's a common theme. There's a lot of people.
Can I say something here? That was my best attempt at a Graham Souness accent. I deeply apologise. Can we actually, on the subject of Graham Souness, fantastic work for the charity Deborah. I thought it was important that we mention it, where he swam the channel to France and he's raised over £1 million, like I say, for the charity Deborah. Absolutely phenomenal, Wolf. And Graham in the past has obviously had these heart issues, health issues. So at his age, to be going to do something like that for anything, doing that for anything in his condition is phenomenal.
It's incredible. I mean, a 70-year-old doing anything like that, a 17-year-old doing anything like that's incredible. It's just for a man in his condition, particularly because he's had heart issues in the past and he's had a few health scares in between. Absolutely tremendous. I mean, to raise over £1 million. I mean, obviously, the fact they've gone big, I think there was a team of them did it, and the fact they've gone big on the fact that Graham Souness was doing it was obviously to get people to donate because he's the biggest name of the people involved in it. It's got to be fun. I mean, it's fantastic doing it for any charity. A charity like Deborah, I mean, absolutely tremendous, just superb. I mean, if I was wearing a hat, I would certainly doff it to him. I mean, I've done a few bits for charities over the years, but there's no way I'd even look at swimming the channel. You know what I mean? No, it was absolutely phenomenal. Brilliant. I felt as if we had to give that a mention. And one other point I wanted to put to you guys, and it was a comment, and I think it may have been Philip that made the comment, and he was talking about how we feel getting into the Champions League qualifiers and how confident we are.
but I kind of wanted to switch the question and then jump out because I don't want to answer it. With regards to playing in the Champions League, are we capable? I suppose capable and good enough is actually the same question. So, are we good enough, or would you prefer? Obviously, the money's the big talking point here, right? But would you prefer to see us drop into the Europa League and try and have a run at that? Or do we need to get that money for the group stages of the Champions League, even if we go into a group and we end up with some of the same results that we got last season? And with that question, I'll see you all later.
Right, Brian, I'm going to jump all over that because
Go on then.
we won't get the same results as we got last season simply because the Champions League's getting played the way the Champions League should get played. You've got a week in between the games. It's not three games in 3 weeks, then a wee break, and then 3 games in 3 weeks. So if you do have a bad result, you've got a bit of time to recover from it because you've got, another midweek plus the 2 weekends to recover from it. There is absolutely no chance on this earth we'll be drawn in a group as difficult as the one we got last year. Absolutely. I mean, I'd be flabbergasted if anybody got a group as difficult as that because, that was horrendous, the teams that we got. When you consider the team we got out of pot 3 were the form team in Europe, went on to win the Scudetto by a country mile, went deep into the Champions League, the whole 9 yards with Napoli. That's incredible. Gallant Pioneers bang on, right? What's the hardest group you could probably ever get? So we have to be realistic and look at it. So look, we need to get in the Champions League because that's where the money is. That's where the kudos is. And being realistic, we're going to go. If we go into the Champions League, we go in pot 3, and we need to look to finish third. Finishing second would be brilliant, right? But even finishing second, the chances are we'd be out the first knockout round. Because we'd play a group winner, and let's be honest, we're probably not ready for that. But if we could get third, which we should be favourites to get coming in pot 3, then you get a wee run at the Europa League and see what happens. You'd as well go that way as going into Europa League group stages.
It would be interesting if anybody wanted to phone in with their thoughts on that. 01416287237. Let us know what you think about the whole European situation. It'd be good to hear from you.
Wolf makes a good point, Mark. I mean, we're in pot. If we made the Champions League, we'd be pot 3. So we'd have obviously moved up a bracket compared to where we were last year. And we would be looking at the pot 4 team and thinking, right, we've to, the mentality changes then when you're in pot 3, doesn't it? A little bit. Yeah,
I mean, my thoughts on it are: listen, Champions League's where everybody wants to be. That's the Champions League's. Gives you the goosebumps. It gives you that hair in the back of your neck standing up. It's you're playing against all the big boys. You're in the big boys' playground, and that's where everybody wants to be. Now, last season we took a few right downs. I mean, we took a few sore ones. But to be fair, I think we took a few sore ones with the fact that we had a kind of mismatch of a team. It was kind of patchwork a lot of the time, and I'm not putting any excuses on that. But I mean, listen, we had an 18-year-old boy playing at centre half against some of these fantastic top tier teams. So I would like to think that the work we're doing at the moment will stand us probably in better stead with us going into Champions League if we make it, because it's not going to be easy getting in there. But when you look at it cold light of day, Europa League's probably more well level as it stands at the minute. Beale gets another season under his belt. We progress. We win the league. We build on what he's bringing in players wise and stuff like that. And next season we maybe look more like a Champions League side, as I said at the minute. I think it might just be a step too far, and I really, really, really don't want us to take the downs that we did take again. Although, as I said, my head says maybe Europa League, my heart says 100% Champions League. So I kind of conflicted a wee bit, realistically. But as I said, if we take the rose, we'll call it the blue tinted glasses because it always is. We take them off and look at it in the cold light of day. Probably we can maybe go further in the Europa League. But Champions League is where it's at, and that's kind of where we want to be. That's where the money is.
See that comment I pulled up, Wolf, about, was it Phil's comment, basically saying, there was a lot of things happened last year, in the Champions League. We got three arguably really tough. Yeah, we were good enough against to qualify via merit, defeated two really good sides in the Dutch and in Dutch PSV in Belgium. When we really had bad luck with injuries at the centre half position last year. Certain players weren't performing. There was a lot of factors last year, wasn't there, as well? I'm certainly not saying if we were at full strength we would have beat any of them, but we certainly wouldn't have been as bad as we were.
Well, as I said earlier, we've got the toughest group anybody could possibly have got without any question. And the fact that the games were back to back to squeeze in the World Cup didn't give any time to recover from it, either physically or mentally. Right. On top of that, we had 18-year-old Leon King playing at centre half beside the defensive midfield player that we had to draft in because the centre halves were all injured. The whole Champions League campaign turned at half time in the Liverpool game at Ibrox when Conor Goldson went off injured. Remember, we were 1-1 with Liverpool at half time. Goldson went off injured, and it all fell to bits after that because he's the guy that was leading the defence because he was the most experienced person in the defence at the time. So we had loads and loads of bad luck, but let's not blame bad luck. Let's not pretend we're them and start bleating about it. We got hossed all over the Champions League. It was embarrassing, right? That's one of the reasons we need to get back into it and prove that that was an anomaly, that we can compete in the Champions League. I'm not saying we could draw Man City or Real Madrid and beat them, right? But we could make a fist of it. We wouldn't get, I don't believe for a second, we'd get beat anything like the way we got beat. To lose 3 goals in Amsterdam in 25 minutes, embarrassing. Seeing Rangers fans try to fight with Steelers to get let out of the ground at half time because they weren't letting them out is crazy. We won't be in that position again because we're building a squad that's better than that. That's why we need a squad. We need players that have got the experience. Leon King's now got the experience of, it's not, I don't think it was an accident that we didn't see Leon King basically after the Champions League run until the end of the season because he played far, far too much football at a high level and they had to give the guy a break. Yeah. They had to because his head must have been shattered, right? So he probably expected to play that amount of football over the course of the season. He played it in 2 months, 3 months. You know what I mean? So they put him back on plan, brought him in at the end of the season. I don't think there's any way that we'll take that type of pumping again. And we need to get back into the Champions League just to prove that we can actually fight at that level. You've got to look, if you look back at Club Brugge to compare us to another team from probably a comparable league, right? They've been in the Champions League something like 5 out of the last 7 years. And the first 2 or 3 years they struggled. They really struggled. But then they got used to it. And the players got used to it. And their fans got used to it. And their management got used to it. And then they got out the group stages last season. Because they've had a few shots at it and they know how to cope with it. So we need to be looking at going for that. But as I say, we've got to be looking at getting the Champions League because that's where the money and where the kudos is. And then finishing third and having a go at the Europa League and see what happens from there. Because if it's all about just going far in Europe, we should be looking to completely collapse and end up in the Conference League because we could probably win that. But we don't want to be in that because that means we're failed in 2 other competitions.
It's a difficult mark, isn't it? The riches of the Champions League is there, and if you get there, then all the money comes with it. But you're kind of, in some respects, you're not resigning yourself to no football after Europe, but it's very difficult, isn't it? Albeit we'll be in top 3 this year, but the Champions League is just a completely different level, isn't it?
Yeah, just to Sharpie said there, if I got a stiff neck, I've actually got a trapped nerve in my neck, Sharpie. Since I got back from holiday, so this is the first night I've felt half decent. I've managed to come onto a pod. But anyway, back to your Champions League's where it's meant to be, Brian. That's where our heart is. That's where our passion is. That's what we want to see. Forget the money. But you want to see us play against the best teams in the world. Simple as that. So this is where we want to be. As I said, the money is great, but as I said, obviously the money's staggered as well. So you need points. You need to do well to earn top money here. So as I said, it's that pool. It's your heart and your head. I mean, your heart wants you to be there with the big guys. It wants you to be. You want to see us test ourselves against your AC Milans, your Man Uniteds, your Barcelonas. You want to play the cream. Everybody wants to come and see these teams play at Ibrox and sample that atmosphere because it's electric. It's absolutely fantastic. But as I said, the football side of things, as I said, Europa League, I would think probably we're level where we should be. But do you know what? I'm all for giving it a right good go and seeing where we end up in the Champions League. Stranger things have happened. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, let's face it. 2008. Did any of us after that ever think we were going to be in any sort of other major European final again? So these things happen, don't they? Big Marvin said it. Keep believing. Why not?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we say that England's just taking the lead in the football. If anybody's taken any notice against North Macedonia, so, but Wolf, you're not an international football man. So
while we're on the subject, Glenn Kamara put another £1 million in his asking price today because he scored for Finland earlier on today.
I was just a way to say that, Wolf. What would be an acceptable price for that, for Kamara? What would you think is a decent amount? I mean, bearing in mind he's a Finnish international, plays every game. And he chips in with the odd goal.
What's he got
He's
left?
not
2 years
finished.
left.
He's only 26.
Hey,
somebody had to say it.
What's he got? 2 years left on his deal?
Yes.
I don't know. I've heard £5 million thrown about. If we could get $5 million, I'd rip their hand off for it. I'd absolutely rip their arm off for it. But if we're looking for, as I said earlier, if we're looking for 5, we'll settle for 4. I think. So if we let him go for less than 4, whoever gets him's got a steal. But I think we should start asking for 5. If we end up with 4, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine, no problem.
You kind of in agreement, Mark, around that price bracket?
Look, listen, 5 million, I'll be over the moon with 5 million. I'll go and pick him up and drive him at the airport. I don't think we're going to be getting that kind of money. I think that probably maybe 4 million or 5 million with add-ons. I think probably to try and get somebody interested and kind of somebody biting, maybe talking about the 3 million mark, I think, and tell it that's a great. We know what he's capable of. We were talking probably a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, that it was 15 million. And do you know what? We weren't it was the Dembele dollars we were talking about. It was proper money because he was that good. It was showing up in Europe, showing up week in, week out, and a lot of times it looked like an absolute Rolls Royce. He took a dip. Well, for whatever reason, we've kicked that ball about to death. But for me, 3 million with add-ons rising to 4 or 5 million, I think it's a great bit of business. But yeah, I think the boy needs to go. It's simple as that. I think his time's up. Thank him for his service, but I think that's his last hurrah. I'm afraid he needs to go.
Yeah.
Brian, can I throw one at you while we're talking about potential international transfers?
Yes.
Right. The man from Zambia, Fashion Sakala. Right.
Yep.
Would you guys let him go if a decent bid came in for him, bearing in mind that Zambia have qualified for the AFCON, which I believe is probably going to be, well, it's usually in January, which means you're probably going to lose him for a month in January. So would you let him go this summer if you get a decent enough bid for him? And if you did, what is a decent enough bid for him?
Well, we were speaking about that in the Daily Rabble this morning, and I mean, if you look at his goal contributions last year, as in goals and assists, he was heavily involved in a lot of that. And if he didn't do, the goals and the assists that he did last year, we could have been in serious, a lot worse trouble than what we were. And, he brings, I get that he's a frustrating player. I get that he misses, open goals at times, but he does things that not a lot of people on our team can do. He can run at defenders and terrify them. And, it's a difficult one. I mean, I wouldn't be starting the conversation unless it was upwards of 8-10 million. No chance. I wouldn't be starting anything near that sort of bracket.
No, listen. The boy the boy can go from a world beater.
No,
Yeah,
sorry.
in the space
8,
of
10 million. 8, 10 million. That's going to be on some Celtic Facebook page, isn't it?
That really is. 100%. 10 million.
Martin, can you nip up to Forest and drug test him?
I'm on my way.
I think he's been on the Guinness.
Well, he scores he scores for Zambia as
Listen,
well.
I'll tell you a stat that'll make you feel better. 20 goals in 41 games. That's his stat. So, if you look at his stats, that's brilliant. You look at his highlight reel, yeah, he's an enigma. He is what he is. Impact player, yes. Off the bench, brilliant. Start the odd game, yes. For me, it's frustrating. It's just very, very frustrating. As I said, it can score a worldie, and in the next minute it can put it for a throw in with a shot. So I don't know. Is that the type of players that moving forward we're trying to instill in our team? For me, no. I think realistic price, we paid nothing for him. He's probably non great money. I wouldn't think it'd be decent money, but I wouldn't think he's in stupid money. But see if you get 3 million for him, I think it's time to move him on. I think he was bought because he was hot prospect and he was free. I don't think he was bought to come into any sort of a formation or any sort of a plan to play him in a certain position in the team. So for me, if you get 3 million, yeah, again, that's another one. I'll pick him up when I'm picking Kamara up and I'll take him down the road.
See, I take that point. I take that point on board, right? I absolutely 100% take that point, Mark. But like Brian said, if you look at last season, he was one of our most important players. He scored vital goals. He made a vital contribution from basically when he came into the team until the end of the season. So I take the point that, going forward, what we want to achieve and where we want to go, is Fashion Sakala the answer? Probably not, right? But we're in a transition right now with Beale. We're bringing in the players that he wants. We can't just get rid of everybody in the team that maybe isn't going to be good enough going forward. So would you start with Sakala, or would you not keep him as a squad player going forward?
I would probably keep him as a squad player if nobody come in with a significant bid. I think he'd be all right to keep 100%. Same as Davis, same as Cholak. I think he'd be useful off the bench, like I said, but his stats were good, and he done well in a poor Rangers side. Let's face it. I mean, some of that last season was torture to watch. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. It was a hard watch sometimes watching Rangers last season. So for him to be a standout in a really poor team, I mean, do you know what I mean? Us four go to the dancing. I'll look good, but I'm not going to start dancing for diversity. You know what I mean? So that's the point I'm trying to make. Do you know what I mean?
No, I get that point. I get it.
You look decent round about some, and I'm going to say it, some bang average players. Really,
I completely get that. But my point would be that of all the other players, and like your Scott Wrights, etc. I mean, Ryan Kent's away, all that. If you were offering me one player to keep as a squad player while Michael Beale rebuilds, 100%, I'm keeping Fashion. 100%.
I wish I hadn't asked the question now. You know the problem that we've got, right? Is we need to get goals from all over the park. It's not just Sakala. We need to be scoring goals from. I mean, Cantwell started well. He scored 6 or 7 goals towards the end of the season. We need more of that. We need midfield players. The last midfield player we had that constantly contributed goals was Barry Ferguson. That contributed a lot of goals all the time. We need more of that.
What about Ian Black?
That can score goals. We don't talk about the years that he was there for. That should never even have worn a Rangers jersey. You get off. You get back. Get backstage again. I'm going to kick you off again.
We've only got 5 minutes left. I'm going to help you out.
We need goals from all over the team. Right? We need double figures from 3, 4, and 5 players, and a striker that'll score 20 plus. Yes. That's what we need. And if Sakala's part of that, that's fine. But if he's not, then he's not. I mean, we can't sell all our wingers because Scott Wright's going, right? There's talk of Sakala going. The vast majority of the support want Matondo going, right? That's not leaving us an awful lot of Kent's away. That's not leaving us an awful lot of. We can't get rid of everybody.
Nope. Nope.
No.
And by the way, if anybody's watching and we've got 5 minutes left, folks. If you want to get a point in about Sakala or Matondo or Wright or anything, if you phone right now, you'll be brought straight in. 0141 628 7237. Apologies, Brian.
And if you totally agree with Martin, you will get right on immediately.
Straight on.
No messing.
And then,
Now, Wolf,
and then we'll
I'll come to you
abuse
for this one. I was going to ask you. The Rangers Museum opens at the end of July. How you've did you get a sneak peek of it, Wolf, or was it
Nope.
Martin that got a sneak peek?
Martin's
I can't
been in the
comment.
building.
I can't comment.
Well, but you know a lot of the curators that have contributed towards it, Wolf. You know the authors that you spoke to. How do you think it's going to stand up compared to others?
I think it's going to be absolutely magnificent. I mean, it's not going to be big enough, right? I've not seen it. I've not seen the space that it's in, but I know it's not big enough. I've been told it's not big enough, right? By people whose opinion I respect, right? I'm not saying who they are, but I've been, and it's not. I mean, it could be the entire of Edmiston House, and it wouldn't be big enough for me. The amount of stuff we've got, the fact that they've not rushed it is encouraging for me, because they could have tried to rush it to open it when Edmiston House opened in March and say, right, that's a museum open, and half-arsed it. And I know they haven't half-arsed it because they've been to visit museums all over the place, and it's going to be interactive, and it's going to be this, it's going to be fantastic. I was lucky today when the tickets went on sale. I managed to get tickets for the first session, if you like. They're selling them at hourly intervals so the place isn't too crowded. Yeah. And it opens at 10 o'clock on the 31st of July, and I'll be kicking the door down because I'll be there waiting for it. And absolutely delighted to have that opportunity. I'm a bit disappointed because they did say if you bought an Edmiston House package, you'd get first dibs to have a look at it. All they've done is put the tickets on sale in a pre-sale link for Edmiston House members, which is fine because I managed to get them. But they haven't just limited them to Edmiston House members. I managed to get 4 tickets. I can give them to anybody. You know what I mean? But the fact is, I've got and I'm happy. And I think it's going to be sensational. And the good thing is, we've got that much stuff to put on display that you could probably go in there every other week for the rest of your life and see something different every time. Just because of the amount of stuff we've got. I mean, the trophy room itself is a museum, and they reckon that in the trophy room they've only got about a tenth of the stuff that we've got to display because they keep opening covers and finding more. You know, and I mean, I've spoke to Joe Morrison, the curator. And he says some of the stuff he's found is incredible. The stuff that they thought was urban myths, that they'd heard me stories about them, but that's a myth, that can't exist. And they find it. Letters and this and that, just bits and pieces you would never really keep. Mm-hmm. And they found them in boxes, stuffed in cupboards. And it's something that's long overdue. When I've been in museums and clubs all over Europe, because if I go somewhere and they've got a museum, I visit it. And I think this is going to be right,
Mark,
up there. I think.
And I can say,
yeah. Is this up your street?
Sorry, I can say that I have seen the space in Edmiston House when I got a tour of Edmiston House to see what it would be like for a live show, and I got given a sneak peek. And your initial reaction when you see the space is that it's small. However, growing up and working on building sites and in people's houses, when it's laid bare and the walls are all stripped back, for some reason it does look small. So it can be deceiving. It might be slightly bigger than what the picture that I've got in my head, but I got like a 5 or 10 second peek at the space that's going to be used. I've not been to many other museums and other stadiums, so I can't really compare it. I think I went to the Hampden Museum when I was away, so I can't really remember how big that is, but I'm pretty sure that's quite big, the Hampden Museum. So it's just a case of waiting to see what it looks like when it's done. But my very first opinion when I got a quick glimpse was small.
Just picking up on Shauna's comment there, yes, I believe the Glasgow tour bus will now be stopping outside Ibrox. That's going to be a stop-off point for the open top Glasgow tour bus, because there's a reason to stop there now rather than just looking at the building, because there's stuff to do. Whereas previously, in my opinion, there's been nothing to do, because the tours were only 2 days a week and you had to book them in advance and all this sort of nonsense. At least now we've got a museum to go to and they want to encourage people to go to it. So yeah, sure, not 100% correct. That I believe is going to be a thing, which has got to be good for the club.
Yeah. Outside tourists, Mark, sorry. People coming from, maybe not necessarily football fans, or maybe they are football fans from abroad, but they can even get a chance to, have a walk around and have a look.
Yeah, 100%. It's about time we kind of brought this great club of ours into the year 2023. This has been something we've been crying out for. I mean, speak to people all the time because I'm down south a lot, and they always talk about the history and they always say good things about it. But now they've got a chance to come up and actually do the stadium tour, then go to the museum and have a look about it. And there's even a nice shop there with a nice cafe, and it looks all nice and modern, and there's outside seating, and do you know what I mean? It's something that was drastically needed, and I'm over the moon that it's happening. Whether it's big enough or not, I mean, like Wolf says, you could probably fill 5 or 6 of these Edmiston houses with the stuff that Rangers have got and the stories and the bits and bobs, and I think that it's only a good thing. I mean, it's a starting point as well, so let's see how it goes. And I dare say, over the years, you're probably going to look at this Edmiston house getting extended. I'll bet my bottom dollar on it that it'll get made bigger at some point. So it's all good. It's all positive. Let's more people see and share in our great club and our great family. So yeah, perfect for me. All good.
Brian, just before we go, while we're on that subject, because I know we're a bit chasing the clock a wee bit, but it always amazed me that we didn't open Ibrox for people to do tours on days when that other lot had a European game. Because as a football fan, if I'm going and Rangers are playing Atletico Madrid, I'm going to visit Real Madrid Stadium because I'm a football fan and I'm in the city, and that's what you do. Similarly, if you're in, I don't know if you're in Prague, you go to as many of the stadiums as you can, whatever. Whereas you've got them playing, even particularly when Celtic played Hamburg, right? 3,000 Hamburg fans come over. They all want to see Ibrox and it's locked up. That was mental. That was ridiculous. Yeah. At least we've addressed that now, And it's also nice to see them using New Edmiston House for what they should be using it for. Yes. I mean, they announced today that the night before the Hamburg game, they're having like a fans party with the Hamburg fans, which is absolutely brilliant. It's something some of the Rangers pubs are doing. So why shouldn't Rangers do it? Make money. That's what the thing's there for. Somebody at Rangers has a knock in the head, and they're actually thinking sensibly for once.
Can I just jump in, Timothy Sharp? See if you go into the New Edmiston House, and you go into the superstore, the shop where you buy the strips. There's a cafe at the back of it there, so you can go in there and get a wee cup of tea and sit and chill for a wee bit, surrounded by all the new strips and stuff like that. So that's where it is. It's in there. You just go up the stairs. Brilliant.
And Sharpie's got a question for you, Wolf. Have you changed internet provider?
No, I've got a new laptop.
There we go. It was the laptop that was the problem, folks. It wasn't the internet at all.
That was the hardware.
Two wee mice running around a circle, trying to keep it powered up.
50 pence.
I upgraded the cheese. I got better cheese.
There we go. So that's it, folks. Yeah, that's the hour and 5 minutes up, pretty much. So it's been that flew by for me. So thanks to everybody in the comments today, asking questions, commenting on the topics we were speaking about. It's greatly appreciated. If you want to sign up to Patreon, the link is in the description below. We've got loads of shows, the EPL shows, the Legends series. We have Getting to Know You that Wolf is doing. If any of you guys want to get involved with the Getting to Know You, drop Wolf a line or Martin, and they will get you in touch with Wolf.
Or speak to me in Bury on Saturday. If you're down in Bury on Saturday, swap details with me and we'll sort you out for that. If you are down there and you see me, give me a shout.
There we go. So yes, plenty sort of shows coming up, and it's only going to get more and more. We've got the Daily Rabble now every morning, released just at lunchtime. So just to catch up on everything that's happening or anything we see. So Mark, always a pleasure. Nice to see you again.
Thanks very much. Be good to see you, Perry's. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brian, just very last thing before we go. answer Gallant Pioneer. If you watch the interview I did with Gary about the game on Saturday, you'll find out what top it is. It's actually the top that Rangers team will be wearing on Saturday in the Lee Rugby tournament. They're available from the Macron website. You won't get it in time for the game because they make them to order. It takes about 3 or 4 weeks to get there. They're 40 quid, but a tenner of that goes to the Lee Rugby Foundation. It's a cracking top. So thanks for asking, Gallant. It was nice to be able to put that out there, but it's on, all the information's on that pod I did with Gary.
Yep. So again, thanks to Mark and Wolf. Always a pleasure. And thanks to everybody for joining in. And we shall see you again very, very soon.